evening, viewers. We wish to welcome you to our health seminar, NewStart Health Seminar, under the main topic of the best life ever. Suffice to mention that we have already had 2 other topics, and today is the 3rd day. We have already covered Eat Best for Life, as well as Moving for Life, and today we are looking at Drink It for Life. Our presenter is Mrs. Jean Wright, and she's coming from, she's the Education Director of Be Free Lifestyle in South Africa. She's also a clinical lecturer of nurses at the Groote Schuur University Hospital, and implementation of health promotion courses at the Heidelberg College in South Africa. Before I call her up front, we shall have a word of prayer, and then Mrs. Wright will continue with the presentation. Shall we have a word of prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we wish to thank you that you are the Creator God. These bodies that we have are your creation and your design. We can only get the best out of our bodies if we comply with your manual and use our bodies according to your will. How we pray that this time, even as we're going to tackle another topic, interesting topic, on how we can drink for life, that we take these messages seriously. When all is said and done, Father, may we give glory to your name. For this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Mrs. Bright.
An honor to be here again tonight. You know, I arrived here several days ago, and the love and the grace that has been shown me has been amazing. And I just want to say thank you. It's got to the point where I've almost thought, well, I could live here. Thank you, everybody. So our total title is The Best Life Ever. And tonight we are doing Drink It for Life. And you may think, it's boring. But wait until you hear what I've got to share with you. I'm excited about it. You know, there's new information coming out all the time, and it's this that I'm really interested in, because every time new information comes out, it digs deeper and deeper into how our body works and helps us to gain a new respect for this Creator God that has made us. So I'm presenting this on behalf of Be Free Lifestyle. And again, I've got to go through the disclaimer to say to you that this is not designed to be medical advice. If you are not feeling well, please make sure that you go to your healthcare provider for a check. And let's just go back again to the first topic. It was nutrition, and then it was exercise. And today we're doing water. Tomorrow we're going to do sunshine. Now, the most amazing thing is everything about you, what's inside of you, what works inside or floats around, everything is in water, including your thoughts. Without water, you can't think. And you can survive for months without food. But try just a few days without water, and you're going to be in trouble. Now we're going to look through, and if you just have a quick look at how much water you have inside of your body, I think we all will feel a sense of responsibility that perhaps there's something that we need to do here. And so you'll see the minimum amount of water anywhere is 75% in your heart and muscles, and it goes up to 94% in blood. So folks, there's a lot of water inside of you. Now, I've chosen these 2 pictures of the same person for a reason. If you look at the one on the left-hand side, she's got a crease down here, and there are a whole lot of creases around the eyes, a lot of them. Look at the one on the right-hand side. That crease down here is gone, and most of the creases around her eye is gone. And what this lady did is she went on a water drink. And she, for a few days, had 2.5 liters a day, and that made the difference. So we can look a lot more wrinkled than what we really should be. In fact, we can show wrinkles for no reason other than we're actually dehydrated. Now, every day we lose about 1 liter of water out of the body through the different ways, and if we don't replace that, we're going to be in trouble. We become dehydrated. It can be caused by hot water. I think all of you know that when it's a hot day, you'll end up drinking more water, and having a fever makes you sweat a lot. So one needs to make sure that if you're with anybody who has a fever, that they actually are going to drink more water than usual. We know that vomiting or diarrhea does it. We're going to lose more. And what actually happens then is your blood just slows down. And they say that your cells can shrink to 1/3 of their size if you're really dehydrated. But the worst is that your brain actually shrinks in size as well when you're dehydrated. And dehydration stops your body from being able to do what it should do the way it should do. So they have found that this is not just a simple health issue. It's actually a very serious thing. So what I've got here is 2 brains. And the lighter colored blue is brain tissue, and the darker colored blue is some water. And what happens when you are dehydrated? Can you see that the lighter colored blue shrinks up? There's lots of space in it. This is real. This is not a made-up picture. It's a very real one. And it's only recently, in the last decade, that they started studying what a dehydration actually does to your body. And they've now come to the conclusion that it's actually the strongest form of stress that your body can undergo. So if you think when things go wrong and you have something really bad happen in your life, it's not as bad for your body as what being dehydrated is. So there were 2 particular ones that I'm referring to. The one is in 2013 and the other one is in 2018. And what they did is they checked to see if you're only 1 to 2% dehydrated, what happens inside of your body. Okay, so the brain shrinks, your memory slows down, and it's not as clear as what it should be. And you feel tired and sleepy, and you have less energy. And I want to tell you, if you're feeling tired, just go and drink water. Have several glasses in a half an hour, and you'll be amazed at how much energy you actually develop. Now, how are we going to know that we're dehydrated? You see, if things are working properly, there should be all sorts of warning signals. I've called them brain sirens that should go off. And that brain siren should tell you, you are thirsty. But that's not what usually happens. It usually makes you think you're actually hungry. So what happens is you start eating. Instead of replacing the fluid that it needs, we eat. And we eat. And we eat. And we get fat. This wouldn't happen if we were actually drinking enough water. So a quick summary there is you have low levels of energy, you're not very alert, your mind is less clear. Folks, if you experience that happening to you, go and drink water. So the first one was 1 to 2% dehydration. Now we're going to 4% dehydration. And at this point, you start getting headaches and you start becoming constipated. You start getting irritable with everybody around you. You know how normally you may be quite calm and suddenly find yourself snapping at people where you normally wouldn't do that. And it's very interesting, the more dehydrated you become, the faster you breathe. And you slowly become more and more weaker and more tired. Now, at 4%, we're really running into trouble. You see, water helps to wash our body on the inside. And what I've got on the right-hand side is I've got a glass of water at the top. So I hope you can see that. And below it is a kitchen sink full of dishes. And the closest equivalent that I can actually get to trying to run your body on not enough water is trying to wash all of those dishes with one glass of water. It's not going to work very well, is it? In fact, we'll end up making more of a mess. And what's interesting is when a doctor orders laboratory tests on you, so you go to the lab and they take blood or they take whatever they need and they spit out the results, and you get this piece of paper that tells you what your readings are and what the normal values are, between what and what. So that's usually what comes out. And they have found that these levels can rise, like cholesterol levels, for no other reason than you're actually dehydrated. Now we're going to do some anatomy and physiology, and this is my real love. So what you're seeing there is the tiniest little blood vessels inside of your body. They're called capillaries, and they are carrying the blood, the nutrition, everything else that your body needs to the cells. And if you look at that carefully, you're going to see that these cells are going through in single file. There are some of these capillaries that are actually so small that these red blood cells have to bend over to slide through them. Now, the bottom picture there is red blood cells. And if you look at them, they're not stuck together. Can you see they're flowing freely? You have about 100,000 kilometers of these capillaries inside your body. It's absolutely amazing. When you become dehydrated, this blood becomes thicker. And you're going to see, whereas previously those red blood cells were all going through in single file. Now what's happening? They're starting to stick together. And the bottom picture, I'm hoping you can see it. It's a whole clump of red blood cells sticking together. Sugar can do it to us, but I want to promise you, 4% dehydration can do this to you. What else happens to you? Have you ever looked and sometimes seen that your hands or your feet seem to swell up for a reason and you don't know why? See, what's going to happen? In your right-hand top corner, you've got a cell. And there should be a balance of fluid between what's inside of that cell wall, the covering, the jacket that holds it, and the water on the outside. And what happens is when you're dehydrated, more water collects on the outside because it's actually trying to get rid of the toxins that are in your body. So the body shunts it from inside of the cell to outside of the cell. And what starts happening is, like the pictures on the left, you'll find your hands or your feet or even your arms actually swelling up. At first you didn't notice it happening because you can't really feel it in the beginning. And then you see, and this should be an alarm bell to you. Now I'm taking you to one of my favorite places. I want us to look at our genes for a moment. And don't get lost, because this is actually very simple. You've got a cell there, and it's got a wall around it, right? That's the cell membrane. And then you've got this brownie ball in the center. and that's the nucleus. And the nucleus is like the government. I was ridden today past your government buildings where the cabinet sits, where the meetings take place, and they decide what's going to happen in the country. And it's exactly the same here. This is where orders go out to the rest of the body from. And you may have heard of DNA. You know, they do lots of DNA tests nowadays, so it often comes up in magazines and newspapers. And what is inside that nucleus, that government, is a lot of DNA. And I'm going to show you now what DNA looks like, because it consists of lots and lots of twists. So let's look at the picture. This is now just a cell drawn on the left-hand side a little bit differently. And you're going to see some X's inside of a circle. That circle is the nucleus. Now I'm going to take an X out of the nucleus and we're going to put it down so we can actually look at it. And we've got 23 pairs, 23 pairs, that means 46 chromosomes inside of our nucleus. That brown ball, remember it? And here we've got it. And what has happened here, if you look at that X, I don't know if you've ever taken a rope. As a child, I remember wanting to do this, and we did it. One friend would stand at one end with the rope, and I would stand at the other, and the friend would twist in the one direction, and I would twist in the other. And what happened? The rope got shorter and shorter and shorter. And this is exactly how God has packed our DNA into the nucleus. If this is very, very, very tightly wound up threads. They say these threads, we can't see the chromosomes with an ordinary microscope. They are so small that you actually need an electron microscope to look at it. And if we take it and we unwind all 46 of them and we make them, we tie them together so that they become one long string. They say it's 1.3 meters long. We can't see it with the naked eye. This Creator God has done absolutely amazing things inside of us. So we're looking at the chromosome again, that X, and now we're going to go right, and we're slowly unwinding it more and more and more and more until we get down to the right-hand side. Can you see lots of twists? I can. And so let's take it a little bit further. It's amazing. There are the twists on the left-hand side. I think you've seen staircases that go up a pole maybe, going round and round, or in big buildings, sometimes you'll get a staircase that's got a hole in the center and it just keeps going up and up and up. That is how this DNA is actually rolled together. And now the exciting part comes. You can see the X, top left-hand corner. You can see it getting unwound more and more and more until we get to some little balls. I want you now to keep your eye on those little balls, because I'm going to do a cut and a paste, and I'm going to show you a slide and the next one. But first, I'm going to unwind the DNA here on this twisted ladder so that you can see what a gene is. And I've put two black stripes, and there's a gene between them. And that particular one, you can see now in the picture in the middle, they've leveled out the staircase absolutely and completely, and it's got green and blue stripes in it. And that particular one decides your eye color. And it's different. I have a gene for your eye color. You have a gene for my eye color. I have a gene for your skin color. You've got a gene for my skin color. I have a gene for your hair. You have a gene for my hair. So what's the difference? The difference just depends on which one's genes are switched on and which ones are switched off. So in the picture here, the person has green eyes, and I have seen people with green eyes, and so that particular gene is switched on, and her eyes, it's permanently switched on. But the interesting news that they have found, like in the last 10, 15 years, is that most of our genes are not permanently turned on or off. How you live, how you choose to pass your days, how you think, how the environment affects you, all decides which genes are going to be turned on and going to be turned off. So, if I'm living well, if I'm eating the right food, though a gene may be broken, it's switched off. That's how the body does it. That's how God has made us. He's put this enormous power in our hands to decide what's going to happen to our bodies. Now, let's go back to these little circles. The one on the left, this is the strings. Remember the 1.3 meters? This is it. And there are these little balls. They're called histones, just for fun. And when a gene turns off, they roll up together into a tight clump like this. And that gene is not going to express itself. It can't say, I'm a bad gene. I want to do damage in your body. Your body actually protects you from it. And it can go the opposite way as well. It can hide if my lifestyle is bad. It can actually hide good genes and allow the broken ones, because we've all got broken ones. Now, on the right-hand side, you will see that these little, call them cotton reels, are now separate away from each other. This now means this gene is working. So on the left-hand side, you've got a gene that's turned off. On the right-hand side, you've got a gene that's turned on. It's working. What they have found is all those little twists, can you see them down the middle? They can't bend or straighten out if they're not covered in water. And so they're finding that they can't do their work properly. And they say this is one of the reasons why genetic mistakes start happening inside of you. And it can help you to walk straight into disease. It's one of those. Folks, it's not just food. It's water inside of us that plays a big part in what we're doing. And when mistakes start happening, I don't know if you can see it. I cut out 4 different mistakes, and there's a twist. So each one is a gene, and there's a yellow mark on the one, a red mark on the other one, blue marks on others, and that's where it's got broken. Those little crossbars on the ladder get broken, and they don't fit in properly, and we start running into problems. And the amazing thing is, if you drink water, the body fixes. So it's up to you to decide how you're going to do. And what they're finding out is many lifestyle diseases, the symptoms, particularly things like high blood pressure or diabetes. There are others as well, lots of them. Those symptoms of these diseases start because of a lack of water. And they will find if you drink enough water, those symptoms will disappear. What other things come when you have been dehydrated for a long time? You become constipated. I know when I haven't been drinking enough. You can get kidney and gallstones. That's long-term dehydration. You can have cholesterol problems. You can have liver, you can have joint problems. And to me, this is incredibly interesting because they find if you've been dehydrated and you just think of your backbone going from your neck down to your hips, they say the little cushions in between those vertebrae, the backbones, actually squash down. And you can have back problems for no other reason than it's actually dehydrated. And they found these particular ones take 2 weeks of drinking water before they actually puff up back to the size that they're supposed to be. Now, we had 1 to 2% dehydration. We've had 4% dehydration. Now we're going to 8% dehydration. And it's in big letters. You will die. And I'm stressing again that body drought, which is dehydration, is the strongest form of stress your body can actually experience. So, what happens? You've heard about the fight or flight. When you're in an emergency, your body gets revved up. I know people who've been in a car accident and actually been really injured, but they can't feel any pain at that particular moment when it happens. And dehydration makes us live in that state. Bad dehydration keeps us there. It keeps our body in stress mode. You may be trying to set your life up to live all calm and collected, but it's not happening because we are dehydrated. So, the summary. If you've not had proper water intake for years, then you're most likely to develop a buildup of toxins and show signs of disease. Those symptoms may look like disease, but it's because you haven't had enough water. And what are the long-term effects that we can, particularly if you have been diagnosed with this? High blood pressure and diabetes. You know, when we have gone out as a team to go and do health expos, it's always fun for us when we're in one spot for 3 days. And if we pick up people with high blood pressure, for instance, we will say to them, would you mind coming back tomorrow? You don't have to get in a queue, just walk straight to me. I want to take your blood pressure again. And you get them drinking water. And they're absolutely amazed to watch each day how the blood pressure goes down and goes down. It may not get rid of all of it, but it makes a huge difference. So, what do we normally do if we have symptoms of headache and high blood pressure and things? Instead of drinking water, that's the should do, we take pills instead. And it cures absolutely nothing. Folks, I want to tell you, there's a place for pills. But we shouldn't have to stay on them. When you drink some water, it takes, if you're using ordinary tap water temperature, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes for it to be absorbed into your circulation. It's absorbed right in your stomach. If it's hot water or it's very cold water, the water either has to cool down first or it has to warm up before it's absorbed. So that can take you about 20 minutes, sometimes even up to 30 minutes. If you're drinking water with your meals, it can take up to 2 hours before the water actually leaves your stomach. And they have found concentrated fruit juices, if you're drinking it because you're thirsty, give up. because they have found it's so concentrated that it actually stays and it goes right down, it goes through your stomach, and it's got to take a few hours there before it leaves, and it goes on, and until it's right down in your colon, that liquid doesn't get absorbed. So don't drink fruit juices for feeling thirsty. Doesn't work. And I just want to warn you that be careful when babies and children are having vomiting or diarrhea. They can dehydrate very, very quickly. If you're choosing to stay at home, you need to make sure you know what to do. It is better to actually go and get a professional eye to look over the child and to make sure, because they really do lose fluid very quickly. Now, how are you going to know that you are dehydrated? So I've got 2 little tests, and the one is the pinch test, and I'm going to take you to it. So what you do, you take your hand and you do this, and you pinch it for 3 seconds and you let it go, and it should actually shoot right back immediately. If it's taking a little while to do it, you're dehydrated. So now you're learning to do a check on yourself. You don't need a doctor, you don't need a nurse to tell you to do that. You can do it to yourself. So you've got that one. Let's go on to the next one. And here we're going to talk about the color of your urine. You need to start taking an interest in what you're leaving behind in the loo. Now, if you think back a little bit, what you're going to find is that your urine changes color. Sometimes it's quite dark in color. Sometimes you can hardly see any color in the toilet if you're watching. Now, if you look, let's start from number 8 and we go back to number 4. All of those, if that's the color, you are dehydrated. At number 3, if you go and you see some color in the water, but it's not very dark, go and drink a glass of water. This is the most amazing way and such an easy way to actually work out whether you need water. You've got the 1, 2, 3 test. Does it go back immediately? Yes, mine has. But I want to let you into a secret. This morning it didn't. It took just a fraction. So I went on a huge water drink today, and it's back to where it is. Now, let's go to number 1. And this is a safeguard. This will stop people who may have kidney or heart problems from overloading themselves with water. You know, they struggle to use water. The body struggles to do what it should with the water. And if it's got no color in it, don't drink any water. The moment you start seeing some color, when you're finished, you wash your hands, you go off, and you have some water to drink. So now we've got 2 very, very simple tests that we can do to go and see, am I dehydrated or not? I don't know about you, but I know that I need every single little cell in my brain to work properly. I can't afford to waste any of it. And that's my real driving thing when I have a look to see what is happening. So, how are you going to make sure that you're drinking enough water in the morning when you get up? You go to the toilet. That's usually a routine. Virtually all of us are going to do that, or we should be, because we should have water in our bladders after a night of sleep. Look at what color you've left behind. But regardless of what color you've left behind, have yourself a nice glass of water. You can warm it a little bit if you want it, just a little bitty. You could put a squeeze of lemon juice in it to make it taste different. And lemon juice is very good for you. You know, do what feels good for you. I'm quite happy with just plain water, but usually first thing in the morning, I like my little squeeze of lemon juice into it. I just cut a slice downwards and I squeeze it in. So, if you look at the faces down below, those eyes at the top mean you need to start looking. And there's somebody who's having a problem. The first picture. If anybody has to take their computer to the toilet, you know they have a problem. Because toilet things should happen very quickly. And remember, if you're dehydrated, you become constipated. So it's a warning cell. It's a ding-dong. So, anytime you see color in the toilet, go and have another drink of water. And the truth is that very, very few people are drinking enough water. Listen, you can have a herbal tea along with it if you want to, but the other drinks, I'm going to talk about them in a moment. What I'm telling you now is avoid drinking with your meals, because the water turns the food like into a soup. It slows down digestion. And if it stays there for too long, do you remember we learned about fermentation acid? We had hydrochloric acid, which is the good one, which closes that ring muscle at the top of the stomach. We have fermentation acid, which opens that ring muscle. And then the contents of the stomach can go back up the throat and make you feel very, very miserable. They can give you indigestion. And I want to now share with you my last little bit of info, but it makes me so excited. It's also relatively new stuff. You know, you drink water and then you think of it going to surround a cell, because it's going to get absorbed, it's going to get into your bloodstream, it's going to go to a cell. But what we have learned is that the water that is inside your cell and the water that surrounds your cell is different to the water that you drink in a glass. And they have come to call it living water or structured water. You will see both of them are going to come up. Now, what makes it different? It's more sticky, it's thicker, and it's more alkaline. See, your cells like to be bathed in alkaline water. And I've put a battery there for a reason, because that water actually holds an electrical charge. And it's a negative electrical charge. Do you remember we've learned in the previous two presentations that negative makes us feel good, positive electrical charges make us feel bad. We don't feel good. And here we have it. The water around our cells holds an electrical charge. And the amazing thing is that they have found that the sun, and tomorrow I'm going to do the sun and touch back on this again, because they have found that the sun has the ability to recharge this battery power. So when we go outside and the sun actually reaches our skin, we cover ourselves too much. We don't get time to stand out in where we can roll up our sleeves and just pull up a little bit and get our face and our arms and our legs into the sun to get this recharging going on. And we're going to learn more about what the sun can do. So it electrifies this and this fluid around it in the cells and makes it more efficient. And we just for a moment get to go into what are we drinking. And you know what's sad is almost entire populations have switched from drinking water to having something that either has to come out of a tea bag or a coffee tin or out of a bottle. And it's not really stuff that helps us. These ones that have got, there are a whole lot here that are energy drinks. I'm looking through, and I think the ones you can get here are Monster and Cokes, and they're hitting the young people and those who are into physical fitness, because they say, if you drink me, you're going to get energy. And that one, I'm not going to fight with. The problem is that energy lasts no more than 20 minutes. And what happens then is your energy just drops right down like this, and you're feeling tired. So what do you feel like? Another cup of tea, another cup of coffee, another Coke, another whatever it is. And remember the blood sugar we had that went up and down like this? And every time we have one of these energy drinks, we're having the up and we're having the crash down. When it goes down, it makes us want to drink more, and so we can go through. There are people who will go through 6 liters of Coke a day without a problem at all. You can't believe how tough and resilient this body actually is. And so when the advertising comes out, they may not say it's good for you, but they will have people who are jumping and full of energy. Watch the advertising. They cheat. You're going to get left worse off. And the problem with these energy drinks is they actually dehydrate the body. So yeah, we're drinking, but it's taking more water out of the body than you're actually putting into it. And they have found just of the soda drinks, the Fantas, those ones, they did the tests on children, and they found that their concentration and their learning just went right down after drinking those. So we're not doing our kids a favor when we give them money to go and buy these drinks at the school tuck shop. The school tuck shops should actually not be selling them at all. And so they have found just one fizzy drink. Your chances of becoming obese, a larger waistline, a high blood sugar, a high blood pressure is quite significantly increased. Just one fizzy drink a day. And drinks containing caffeine cause the water to flow out of you faster than it actually flows into you. And they have found that they cause constant thirst. And how do we recognize it? We think it's telling us to eat. Do you remember that one? They found that just 1 cup of black tea or coffee, it takes 3 cups of fluid to actually get rid of the caffeine that's in that cup. Colas need more. Alcohol is about the greatest dehydrator that you can get, and 1 glass of beer causes at least 3 glasses of water, and it hurts your brain cells. It can cause them to die. Do you remember the picture we had of last night of the good brain and the shriveled brain? Yeah, if you want a shriveled brain, you're going in a good direction. And there's no doubt that these alcohol drinks actually cause inflammation, they cause swelling, they cause things that we don't need and depresses the function of the brain. They're really not good for us. Right, so now we have been talking about water inside of the body. And now we're going to teach you some tricks about using water outside of the body for healing. And the folk who are organizing the seminar have promised that they will come and they will actually do a class with you if you're interested in being able to use water as a means for healing. I know in the work that I do, we can't do it without it. We call it hydrotherapy. And one of the simplest ways is, if you're feeling tired, you're at the office, you're wherever it is, or mom's at home with kids, and they're feeling tired because it's just too busy around them, go to a cold tap, get water in your hands, and just splash your face a few times. You'll be amazed at how much fresher you actually feel. Now, I'm going to take you to your teeth. And I was like everybody else. I thought I had to brush my teeth with toothpaste. Until I started finding out that a lot of the things that are in toothpastes are not actually good for me. And I have found, I've used it probably for about 15 years, I have used salt. Now, I went to a market today And thank you for that. And one of the things that I saw there was they were selling lumps of salt. That's proper salt. It has not been refined. The refined stuff that never forms lumps is not the salt I'm talking about, because I need a type of salt that's going to make sure that no germs are going to grow. So what I have is I have a glass. So this is a glass of water. And I put some salt into the bottom. And I only change this once a week. I don't need to. If I use commercial salt, I have to change it about every third day. And then I fill it up with water. So you've got it. I've got a glass. I've got salt at the bottom. I fill it up with water. I give it a stir with my toothbrush. And when I'm finished stirring, there should still be some salt at the bottom. This is important. This is called a saturated solution. And all that happens here is I'm going to, when I come to brushing my teeth, I put my toothbrush in and I take it and I go and brush. And I run a tap over my toothbrush and I give my mouth a little rinse. My toothbrush is clean, remember? I rinsed it under the tap and I put it back in the salt and I give my mouth one more brush and I don't rinse it. Now, when you first start doing this, you may actually find blood on your toothbrush the first few days. This is wonderful because what it's doing is it's now starting to get at, there may be an infection in your mouth that you're not really aware of. You see it with the blood that's on your toothbrush, and by the third, fourth day, it's gone and it won't come back again. So that's an easy way. So we've splashed our face, we've brushed our teeth, we know to wash your hands when you go into the toilet. And I'm particularly talking about public toilets, other toilets as well, but be extra cautious about public toilets at this particular point. You have a headache or a blocked nose. You know, you have a bad cold and you're blocked up. You get a basin and you put nice hot water, as hot as you can comfortably tolerate it. You must be able to put your feet into it and not pull them out quickly because it's too hot. When you put your feet, so the water gets tested first by the person who's putting the water into the basin. They put their hand into it, and if the hand could stay in there, then it's okay. I usually use my left hand and I'll have a jug of cold water if I need to cool it a little bit more. And once it's comfortable and I can leave my hand down in the basin, then I know it's ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the feet into the basin. And you can, if you want to, if it's a headache, put a cold, just get some ice blocks into a plastic bag and put it behind your neck. And you are going to find that your headache is going to just melt away. And when you've hurt yourself, there's an ice pack. It's just got ice blocks in it. You don't need to go and buy fancy stuff. And there's a face cloth, because if you're using what I've got there, you can see that ankle, I'm hoping you can see, has been hurt. It's bruised. There's been bleeding into the cells under the skin there. And so what you do is you take a face cloth, you wet it out in cold water, and you wrap it around the area, and then you put the ice pack on top of it, and you just leave it there. You just leave it. And ice acts like an anesthetic, and it also stops more bruising. And now I'm going to tell you about a hot and cold shower. Got just a couple more little really nice bits for you. This is one of the great ways of actually boosting your immune system. So let's say you shower. So you get into the shower and you have your normal shower and you're nice and warm. Now what you're going to do is you just step aside a little bit. The tap's over there. I'm going to put my arm out and I'm going to start turning on the cold tap. I haven't touched the hot tap. I was showering under hot and cold. Is that right? Okay. Now I've stepped aside and I'm turning the cold faster until it feels cold here. Okay? And now I can go and stand in it and allow it to make my whole body cold. Remember, it's not ice cold. It feels cold here before it feels cold on the rest of your body. But you were showering under hot. Now it's becoming mainly cold. And right here, where the bottom of your ribs are, your adrenal glands are there. Splash water, that cold water, onto the adrenals to actually stimulate them, to wake them up, because those are your stress glands, and they do lots of other good things as well. And then you're going to go back to hot, and you're going to go back to cold. You're going to do this 3 times. And you finish with cold. And what's going to happen as you turn the shower off, you're going to feel a warm flush go through your body. To tell you, this warm flush is absolutely amazing in wintertime, because normally if it's cold and you are drying yourself, you feel cold. It's not pleasant. Whereas if you're doing the shower, you have this hot flush and you don't feel cold at all during this period. Lots of girls are suffering from period pains. And there are 2 ways of doing it. The one is just having running a warm bath, not a baking hot one, just a warm bath, and putting 3 tablespoons of Epsom salts. You know Epsom salts? It's available at all the supermarkets. It's easy to get hold of. It's just another form of magnesium. But you put these 3 tablespoons of Epsom salts into the bath, and the girl or the lady climbs in and just lies there. And 20 minutes, she will find that the pains have gone away. Now, if somebody doesn't have a bath, what are we going to do? We're going to, again, remember those 3 tablespoons of Epsom salts, but now we're putting them into a jug with water into it, and we're mixing it so that it's dissolved. And then you just do, you will shower if you don't have a bath, just long enough to open the pores, just to make it warm, and then you turn the taps off and you pour this jug of water over you, the young woman does, and you just stand there for about 2 minutes, allowing the magnesium, the Epsom salts, to actually be absorbed into your body. Remember, everything that you put on your skin is absorbed into your body. So when it's got a lot of chemicals in it, it does it. This time instead, it's absorbing the Epsom salts. It's also very good if you consistently can't sleep. Do one of these treatments, just put some into your bath, or if you're showering, have a jug with some, let it work, and you get to be amazed at how it actually helps you. I'm not going to do a heating compress, but I'm going to talk you through very quickly. What we do is we get a t-shirt, and it's all here. This is such a safe procedure. I think of everything that I know about hydrotherapy, the use of water to treat people. This is my absolute favorite, because it can be done on a tiny baby, it can be done on a very frail old person, and it can get done on everybody in between. And what we're going to have is a t-shirt that I wring out in cold water. I've wrung it out so it's not dripping. And I've got a plastic bag that I've cut an arm and a head, right? And I'm I'm going to put this on. I put the T-shirt on. I put the plastic bag. There are 2 different plastic bags, so you can use a garbage bag as well. And then we're going to have 2 warm tops to put over that. You always have a little bit of a shock when you put the cold T-shirt on, but it lasts 5 seconds. That's it. Then it's gone. Now you're tucking yourself in. So you had the T-shirt, which was wrung out in cold water. You have the plastic bag. You put 2 warm tops on, and you put the person to bed. If they have a fever, it is the best and the fastest way to bring down a fever. Don't use a painkiller, an aspirin or a Panado or whatever it is. You know, that's what we normally take. But that actually depresses your immune system. I want to do something that's going to strengthen your immune system, particularly in the days that we are living now. They've been throwing COVID at us. Now they're starting to throw monkeypox at us. So they're saying they're going to be fevers. Folks, you use this to do it. It crashes down your temperature so beautifully. One of the things is when you are putting on the 2 warm tops, just make sure that no air is getting up. You put the person to bed. In 10 minutes, they will be asleep. Now, what we've started with is we started with a cold T-shirt with a plastic bag over it. Then both your body and the T-shirt come to the same temperature. And at that point, you're off to sleep. When you wake up, you will have sweated. You can feel you really have sweated. It can be over with. Your sleep may only last 20 minutes or a half an hour. I know that I've had students come to me in my lecturing days where they would say, I'm feeling terrible. And in 2 periods, I've got a test coming up and I've prepared for it. What can I do? And I tell them to do this. They go and they do it. They go in and they write their test quite successfully because they're feeling good again. So there we are. You put extra blankets on top when the person is in bed and they're going to sweat. And we've gone through all of that. We can do exactly the same thing for a sore throat where we put a piece of cloth. It can be an old shirt. You can find it and just cut the sleeve off and wet the sleeve. Remember, we had a wet T-shirt. Now we've got a wet piece of cotton material around the throat, wrung out. We do that. Then you can put a piece of plastic around that and a scarf around that. You're going to be amazed at how quickly your sore throat or your cough actually starts settling down. So, we've learned how important water is to the body. I'm hoping you're convinced that your life depends on it and that you've got the power to increase your quality of life. That very same choice can actually land up in making us quite sick, and we can even die because of it. And I have from one of my favorite authors, I've got a quote. It says, in health and in sickness, pure water is one of heaven's choicest blessings. Its proper use promotes health. It is the beverage that God provided to quench the thirst of animals and man. Drunk freely, it helps to supply the necessities of the system and assists nature to resist disease. I'm going to John 4 verse 13 because there's some wisdom in this. It says, anyone who drinks the water that I will give will never thirst, not ever. The water I will give will be an artesian spring, gushing fountains of endless life. I want to remind you that the group, the presenters, are going to be forming a WhatsApp group, and by Friday you will be given all the particulars about how to make sure that your name is on the group so that we can all continue to actually talk to each other. I will be getting onto a plane and going back home. But you know, with WhatsApp, it doesn't matter anymore. You talk around the world with freedom. And this is what's going to happen, so that questions you may have, we are going to be answering. If it's a very private question, you will be given my cell number and you'll be able to ask me. But the general questions that are going to come up are going to go onto the group. So when one asks a question, everybody hears the answer and we all learn together. And we can go back and check and see if a situation arises. I remember us talking back way, and we scroll back and we get it. May we just close our eyes for a prayer to our Creator God. We stand awed at the way you made us. Lord, when we look into the genes and the trust that you put into our hands to be able to make a difference to our own health, because you are not a God who forces. You're a God who enjoys us and has created us to be able to make up our own minds. As we move forward, may we be able to make up minds for choices that are good, that are healthful, and that bring happiness and well-being to us. Thank you for all of that. And we say this from the bottom of our hearts. We say a special amen. Emma.